Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to discuss ant-helminthic drugs. Ant-helminthic drugs. Ant-helminthic drugs. In this, as we have started the drugs like antiprotozoal drug. In antiprotozoal drug, we discussed anti-amoebic drug, anti-malarial drug, anti-leishmaniasis drug, and anti-trypanosomiasis drug. Actually, in this category of chemotherapy, in chemotherapy we discussed that the antiprotozoal drugs we divide them into two groups: ectoparasites and endoparasites. Ectoparasites and endoparasites. These ectoparasites, they reside on the surface of the body, externally on the surface of the body, just like lice, bugs, scabies. These parasites, they reside on the body surface, just in the ears. The scabies, they crawl on the body surface. So in these ectoparasites, the preparations, the drugs which are used, they are formulated in the ointment, in suspensions, and applied externally on the body, just to avoid the systemic adverse effects, like the drugs are benzyl benzoate, landine, and chlortamidone. Various preparations are available in these drugs, like scabione and other drugs. So the aim is that they are applied externally on the body, just to eradicate these ectoparasites. So this ectoparasite, they are not so much used in the pharmacology. They are not given so much importance because they don't have systemic adverse effect. Just on the body, when they are rubbed, they produce itching, etc. So they are minor adverse effects. But the main thing is the endoparasites. these endoparasites, the parasites, they reside either in the lumen of the gut, they reside in the blood, there's some form residing in the tissue. And these endoparasites, they are divided, number one, these parasites, they are protozoas. And in these protozoa, the unicellular organism like malaria, this Entamoeba histolytica, then this Leishmania, Leishmania pneumoniae, Leishmania tropica, then Trypanosoma cruzi, Trypanosoma gabriel. These are the one drug that is Giardiasis. Again, they infect the gut, and the treatment is just like amoeba. We use metronidazole, tinidazole in the case of Giardia. So they are unicellular parasite. They either live in the lumen of the gut, or they go into the blood, or they can reside in the tissue. So in the protozoa, we have discussed anti-protozoal drugs, like drug used in the malaria, drug used in the infection of the amoebiasis, and drugs used in the giardiasis, drugs used in the leishmaniasis, drugs used in the trypanosomiasis. So they are unicellular organism, and we use the following drug as we have discussed. But today again we will be discussing anti-parasitic drug, that is anthelmintic drugs. These helminths are worms. They can produce infection. Worms can produce infection in human beings as well as in animals. In human beings and animals. These anti-protozoal drugs we have discussed. Now, these worms, they are multicellular organisms. Mind it, worms, they are multicellular organisms. They have well-developed digestive system that is strong from mouth and ends on the anus. They have digestive system. They are parasite. These parasites are those organisms which harbors on the ready-made food of the others. So these worms, they just reside on our digested food, which are present in the gut. So that's why they are called parasites. And then these worms, they can reside in the gut, they can reside in the blood, they are one form, and some form of them, they reside in the tissue, just like in the case of these hookworm, or another worm called the dogtail worm. Their larval form can go and implant on the liver, in the lungs, and form cyst. So that is the form of the worm. So these worms, they reside and cause infection or infestation in the human being. Now, these worms, they are divided into three forms. Worms. Mind it, these worms, their infection is more prominent in those areas where the people are uneducated, where the sanitary systems are not so much developed, when the education is low, so these worms can go and affect the human beings. About few words about their life cycle. Normally, what occurs? It is the egg which is taken by a human being, and it goes into the digestive system, and can go to the stomach and then intestine. Now, the adult worms, they lay eggs, and the eggs come into the stomach and then intestine, and then a larval form come out, and the adult worms, they are found. For example, like roundworm, Ascaris lubricatus, roundworm. The adult form is like that. So this, when they reside in the intestine, they harbor on the ready-made food of the human being. So then they lay eggs. When these eggs are again taken, suppose by the children, when their hands are not clean, these eggs can again come, and again the cycle is repeated. Some form of the worms, their larva can go and reside in the tissue, as I told you, on the liver and form cyst. Even some cyst can be formed in the brain, hydatid cyst. So in this way, their cycle is repeated. The eggs come into the digestive system, then worms come out. Again, the worms, they multiply or the reside, and again lay eggs, and these eggs are again taken either by the same person or by the other. So the infection is repeated. So this was the life cycle of the worms. And especially in our remote areas, in villages, these worm infestation is more. Their sign symptoms are that some of the worms like threadworm, Enterobius vermicularis, when their eggs go, then in the intestine the worm comes out from the eggs, and these worms they go at the anal region, and especially at the night these children they scratch their anal region. So this is the sign symptoms, and when you want to confirm the infection, you have to test the feces for the eggs. These worms on the anal region is the confirmatory. So the worms we divide into three categories. Nematodes, trematodes, and cystodes. Cystodes. In nematode, the main worms are like roundworm, or Ascaris lumbricatus. Then threadworm, Enterobius vermicularis, and then hookworm. Ankylostoma duodenale. So these are just long worms. They reside especially in the intestine, and the larval form of hookworm can go in the tissue. So this hookworm, it attaches itself with the help of the hook on the intestinal wall and then reside over there. Same is for the roundworm. They reside in the lumen and threadworm. Then the trematodes, they are flukes. These flukes, they are these ones. They are just like the structure is like that. But about the flukes, they are just like leaf. Like leaf. Mainly, they reside in the vascular system of the lower abdomen and in the urinary bladder and vesicles. They reside over there. And then the cystodes, like fish tapeworm, dog tapeworm, and then the sheep tapeworm. These are the longest worms. They are just like these they are suppose this is the head, so their measurement can be fields, many fields, even 10 fields, 15 fields. They are so long, the cystores, when they reside in the intestine, and their segments are passed continuously in the feces. So what I mean to say is that the worms, they can cause infection in the human being and in the animals. And the main worms which can cause infection in the human beings, they are nematodes, trematodes, and cystores. In nematodes, you should remember the roundworm, the threadworm, the hookworm. In trematodes, flukes, Schistosoma mansoni, Schistosoma hematobium, Schistosoma japonicum. So these are these trematodes. They are mainly met in the Middle East area and in the Japan. But these fish tapeworm can occur in those areas where the people eat fish, like Bangladesh, India, etc. Dog tapeworm, where the people they have sheep and dogs around them, they can be affected by these. So this is just a few words about the worm. In pharmacology, we call them helminths or anti-helminthic drugs. So this is for your just recall your parasitology. Now, because we are concerned with the pharmacology, we will be dealing that aspect of the antihelminthic drugs. Now, the first group of drugs which we will be discussing, they are mainly for nematodes, are drugs used for roundworm and those which reside in the intestine. The first group is drugs used in the worms. In the roundworm. In this group of drug, we will discuss 5 drugs. Number 1, mebendazole, albendazole, thiamidazole, ivermectin, and dichloro, dichlorocarbamazine. These three drugs, mebendazole, albendazole, thiamidazole, they are the imidazole derivative. Now we will be first discussing the mebendazole. Mebendazole, which is available in the market in the trade name of Vermox. Even this drug can be used sometimes when the parasite is in the animals. Their large doses are used. Now about the chemistry of the drug, mebendazole is the drug. As I told you, mebendazole, albendazole, thiamidazole, they are the derivatives of benzimidazole. About the mechanism of action. Mechanism of action of mebendazole. Mebendazole, when it goes in the parasite, suppose we have cut this portion. Here a system of microtubules exist. What this mebendazole does, it goes and attaches, makes bond with these microtubules, and doesn't allow these microtubules to work. First, and second, mebendazole, it inhibits the glucose uptake by the parasite. Damages the microtubule system and inhibits the glucose uptake by the parasite. With the result, the parasite is paralyzed, helpless. So, with the help of the gut movement, then this parasite, because it's paralyzed, then it is expelled from the gut. So, this is the mechanism of action. Means mebendazole, it makes bond with the microtubule of the parasite and cause their destruction and inhibits the glucose uptake by the parasite. So this is the mechanism of action. Then kinetic. Mebendazole is given orally, especially when we take fatty diet along with mebendazole. Its absorption is more. Normally, little amount of the drug is absorbed systemically, but majority of the drug remains in the gut and acts locally in the parasite. Means then the drug is absorbed by the parasite and disturbs the microtubule system of the parasite and inhibits the glucose uptake by the parasite.